Thanks for the great introduction. I am just totally excited to be here today, and especially to see you guys, because you guys actually saved my life on my second bicycle trip around North America. And I'll tell you about that about halfway through my presentation for those who are still awake. No, just kidding. Anyways, and Margit's going to be my magician helper. I'm going to show you a great little magic trick, and I'm going to try to juggle and eat an apple even today. So, when I named the what I was going to speak about, to reconnect and to reflect and to recharge, and I really thought about that a lot with you and with what you're doing, because I have so much respect for the work that you're doing, and I know it's very, very stressful at times, and so I hope today I'm just going to be really sharing some things. I'm not here to be right or wrong. I just really hope I touch your heart. I really lost my heart at one time, and I still do all the time, and I think through what I'm going to take you is really a journey, a 12-inch journey back from our head to our heart. And so I just really appreciate you being here. With the reflect, to really just think about things, I'd love you just to really listen today with your heart and not your ears. A lot of times we listen just with our ears. So to reflect on your lives and also to reconnect to our heart. And I think when we're connected with our heart, we start to recharge and we have that energy again. I went through school and education, and I always remember being in the education lounge, and everybody was so excited about getting out there and teaching and all the things they were going to do. And then a few years later, things get a little tougher, and we start to lose a little bit of touch with our heart. So I thought I'd just start off with a reminder of when we were really little, because we were all little. We weren't quadruplets, but I just love this video. So I hope this puts a smile on your face after all the things.
Make you laugh now. Ready? Play it again.
That's so fantastic. Hey, I love that so much. And by the way, you'll be so proud of me as renal nurses. I've actually found out where all the bathrooms are. After doing these long bike trips, you have to go to the bathroom a lot. So if you see me disappear or anything during my presentation, that's where I am. I'll put a video on at that time, though. I'm going to skip my bio there. I'm going to start off and tell you a little bit about what I've done. That's going to be a little part of it, because I think it's really important to see where things have come from, the things I'm going to be sharing with you. So what I did, and then I'm going to tell you a bit about why I did it, but most importantly, what I learned from my bike trips and about people and all over North America. And so that's the important part. But I want to start off with the first bike trip, because it was really my turning point. I was playing football at university at the time, and I was in a fraternity and drinking a lot of drugs. And for me, I have no judgments on where anybody else is at. I've been clean and sober now for 40 years, and luckily I wouldn't be alive if I kept it. I'm 70 years young now. And my first bicycle trip was in 1970, before people had done cross-country biking, but my trip ended up much more than that. It was kind of like a Forrest Gump or Into the Wild, if you saw that movie. It was kind of that kind of thing. And I had packs all over my back. All of that is canvas and everything that I'm wearing. So, and I had about 50 or 60 pounds on my back. So it's not like what people have now. But I was just riding every day. I'd get up in the morning and just ride. I was very disconnected from my parents, who were very loving. They cared so much, but everything was expressed in terms of money. And I didn't come from a family where we talked about feelings or could hug or say I love you. And all of their friends were much like that. They're very amazing people. They'd give their life for you, which I didn't know at that time. But my parents were going to disown me because of this bike trip. They said, if you do it, please don't come back. But they were doing that really, as I found out, because they were worried, and they thought that was their way of stopping me from doing it, but I wasn't going to stop. Anyways, I didn't find out till years later that my dad, my one promise to him was that I'd go up, that I would phone him, collect, of course, every Sunday at 9 in the morning and let them know that I was still alive, and wherever I was in North America. Now, you got to remember, this was the time of the Vietnam War and the hippie movement and the racial challenges. So I was going into the United States, into all this scary stuff, and I was just a little naive Canadian, didn't know any about this. But I'd phone every Sunday, and I didn't realize till a lot of years later, my parents both died at 92 years young, married 65 years, that my dad would go up to the golf course and take out the map of where I was and show all his friends. Like, he was so proud of me, and I never knew that, because he could never, isn't that amazing, eh? So that's me then. Look the same? Yeah. Thanks. But I've matured. That's where I went. I started out in Vancouver, went across the northern states, and I went in through Chicago, and I ended up in the ghetto of Chicago just by accident, and it was all black people, and it was a little bit scary, but I didn't know much about black people, and they're all calling me honky. And I'd never heard that expression. I thought they were calling me a big hunk. I thought, so I thought, God, these guys are really perceptive. I wonder why people have trouble with them. And anyways, I continued on. They started throwing rocks at me and everything, and I got out of there pretty quickly. But I left feeling very prejudiced to black people, and I saw how quickly we can become prejudiced. But as I continued on, once I got to Washington, D.C., on the East Coast, so many things were happening, I decided to continue on. So I went down the East Coast, and that was really easy. It was all downhill. Just kidding. And little joke there. And got to Miami, and then I decided to go through the South, which was scary, because 1970, they had me in jails in Mississippi, and just because of my hair and my appearance and everything. But the black people were now my friends, and the white people were the ones that wanted to beat me up and everything. So I really saw how we're influenced by what we're told to feel. And I just really realized that there's compassionate people in every race, color, style, age, and there's people that have lost touch with their heart. I speak a lot in schools now to prevent bullying, and I don't believe there's such a thing as a bully. I think we're all beautiful in our essence, but when we lose touch with our heart, we do the not so nice things that we do. And it's really powerful stuff. If a lot of you have kids, and we're often bullied by some unhappy person. When we're unhappy, we pick on people to build ourselves up, and we'll believe there's something wrong with us, whereas happy people see us all as one. We don't see the color and everything, but unfortunately, little kids, because they don't understand that, and that's why it's so important to talk about feelings, is that they have no reason to take that on. But it's too long. I'm not going to talk about that now, but I continued on into Mexico, which is fantastic. The people were just amazing there. I didn't speak any Spanish, and the people just really reached out to me. I was on a big show there. It was like the David Letterman show of Mexico, and then everybody was waving at me on the street. But as I left Mexico City and I was on the show, I said, I'm the worst mechanic. And friends of mine can't believe it, because I've done 3 long bicycle trips and I still can't change a flat tire. But that's another story. Anyways, I was on that show and I was saying how I couldn't change a flat tire, but I was so proud of myself because I changed my first flat tire ever. And Mexico City's in a valley, and as you leave there, you go up this huge mountain and then down the other side to Acapulco. And as I was climbing that mountain, tour buses were going by with their Canadian flags and everything, people cheering me on, and people had seen me on TV, they're cheering me on, going, hola, hola. And then when I got to the top of the mountain, the fun part on a bike is you go down the other side, and it's really quite scary in Mexico if you were there in 1970. Especially then, because they had these really narrow roads and they had these little potholes they put all over the place. No, I'm just kidding. But there were a lot of potholes. I don't think they put them there on purpose. And so anyways, I was going down the other side of the mountain, and all of a sudden, I was coming to this little town, and all these people were waving and going, "Ola, Ola." And I put on my brakes, and I put them in the wrong way, and they both, my brake pads popped out. And then I started going, out of the way, out of the way. But they didn't understand, because they're from Mexico and they speak Spanish. So they started being really hospitable. So they started going, "Ola, Ola," thinking in Canada we wave to the side. And so they were being really nice and friendly and everything. But they realized pretty quickly, as I flew into a bush, I saw this really nice soft-looking bush, and I went into that, and then they came running over, and I guess they were saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm just having a little rest here for, for a minute." But I'm sure to this day they don't think we have brakes in Canada. And anyway, so all the time it was things like that. I didn't go into Central America because they were shooting white people at that time down there, so I did a little U-turn and came back up. But out of this trip came so many things. I started to write my little reflection books that are now all over the world, and they're little books of thoughts that I'm going to share with you, because your conference is a lot about choices, and you'll see that with all my little thoughts that we have choices to be negative or positive, or to feel like a victim, or it's an opportunity to grow. So you'll see that in my little thoughts, and I'm just so grateful now that before I wanted to get the trophies or the marks or the money or whatever it was, and now I get letters and emails from all over the world that just are so moving. I mean, I even got one from a woman, her grandmother passed on, and her grandmother's last request was to be buried with one of my books. So it doesn't get better than that. Like, that was just, so I'm just so fortunate that I started to write what I feel. So out of that, there's what I was carrying as well. That was on the bike trip, and I had a pack on my back saying Canada. People thought I was a draft dodger heading to Canada. At that time, there was the Vietnam War and everything. And so whatever I did, I got in trouble. I started to write my little books of thoughts, and this is the first thought I ever wrote at the end of my first bicycle trip. "I'd rather be seen for who I am and be alone than be accepted for someone I'm not and be lonely." And it was really about not following the crowd, being true to myself. This was, I made a poster out of this one and everything. It meant so much to me. I thought that's all I ever was going to write, because this was such an important one for my life, not to follow along with the crowd. And this next one, Paula Abdul actually used this thought of mine when she won her Grammy Award. And everybody called me and said, "Oh, wow, she used one of your little thoughts." And before I did that first bike trip, everybody said to me, "Brock, you are out of your mind for doing that. You're crazy, you're a fool, you're nuts." After I finished, every person said, "Wow, that's so neat that you did that. That's really great." And it kind of summed up life in a way, that when we go after our dreams or follow our heart. And so this one is one I wrote. And when people said, "Brock, you're out of your mind," I never liked that saying. And because I'll show you why. I was told I'd be out of my mind to go after my dreams. Now that I've gotten out of my mind, by following my heart, I'm living my dreams. Because my head is where all my judgments and fear and all these voices telling me that I can't do something. And my heart is that one voice that we don't usually hear. I had to be alone on my bike in that first bike trip to really hear that voice. And it becomes louder and louder when you're alone like that. And these voices become much quieter. This is one of my inspirations. You all know Terry Fox, of course. And what a guy, eh? I mean, to think how many people he touched. For me, it wasn't about how many millions of dollars he raised, which was fantastic, but it was that he touched us in a place that we rarely get touched, really, really deeply. And he meant so much to all of us up here in Canada and now all over the world. Just before Terry passed on, as you know, his cancer moved up into his lungs, and I took him one of my little reflection books to him in the hospital. It was in Westminster, and I'll always remember that, how everybody was reaching out and saying hi to each other, and everybody was so warm and caring, and I just thought, what an inspiration. I wasn't allowed into his room, but this is a thought, because he was very close to passing away at that time, and this is the thought that I dedicated to Terry. I'll never find out what I can do unless I do all I can to find out. And it's really about living our life to the fullest. I'll show you just a few seconds of Terry here, just because I like to be reminded all the time of him. We often forget these very special moments. But if you remember this, when he ran, you got to remember this was 1980, when prosthetics weren't that great. He was running 26 miles a day on this prosthetic, bleeding, blisters, you know, and with this hop that he had. And you think, wow, that's just unbelievable. The determination.
Ready, set. When they told me that I had cancer, they were also able to tell me with a good degree of certainty that I wasn't going to die. I think that they were able to say that because of the work that Terry Fox has done and because of the work that everybody in all the schools has done. Oh, he's my hero. I don't think that there's an individual on the planet like him, really.
Shakespeare once wrote, "Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them." Terry Fox was not born great. In fact, it was the cruelest twist of fate imaginable that would eventually propel his name into the headlines and his memory into the pages of Canadian history. It's sometimes
Whoops. Isn't that beautiful, eh? Well, he got quite a ways across Canada, and nobody really knew about him. And then all of a sudden, it just took off, and everybody was following him. And to see, what was beautiful for me to see was people of all ages, from little kids to elderly people to people in ties, people with long hair. Every different kind of person was touched. And I always believe if something's coming from the heart, it will touch all people. This next one, this was a real turning point for me too in my life. And again, I'm not here to be right or wrong. I'm just here to get people thinking and caring and smiling more. But this one here, I used to lifeguard, and I'd watch kids at the beach, and I never, ever, ever saw a child at the beach that was bored. They never wanted to go home. Oops, your cell phone. Or they phoning, they're trying to get in. No, I thought they wanted to see us. No. Anyways, I never saw a child bored at the beach, and all they had was sand and water, sticks, and maybe some seaweed and shells, but they never, ever got tired. At the end of the day, they'd been there 7 hours, and they didn't want to go home. And so it just really touched me. And then we get into grade 1, and that's, to me, when we start to get institutionalized, and that we start moving from our heart to our head. We start thinking that the marks or the money or the trophies or different things are going to make us happy. And that's why I wrote this one here, because I love the mark. I'm a very competitive curler, by the way. I've always been a competitive athlete. I enjoy trophies and everything. And I lose touch all the time. And since I finished university, nobody's asked me my marks. So that was quite an illusion. And I'm glad they didn't. They weren't very good anyways. And so I wrote this one here. I do enjoy things, but joy comes from loving the things I do. So it's the love of playing. It's the love of learning. It's the love of, all the things that we have. When we go to a funeral, nobody ever says, oh, Joe had a great car, or did you see the house that they had? It's always the kind of person they are, whether they're kind and caring. With the tragedies going on right now down in Las Vegas and, with the hurricanes and everything, and people saying, about the different people that have passed away, it's always just what a kind person they were, how they always had this smile on their face. And so sometimes I think, and again, that's why I'm here, it's just because we can enjoy the things, but it's having joy while we're doing it. And I think often we lose touch with that. This one here was inspired down in Santa Cruz, California. And I was in a bookstore, and I get really excited when I see my books in a bookstore. I usually go in and hug them and everything. And I used to be a jock, but now I'm just a... Anyways, I tried to act cool. But now when I see my little books in the stores, I hug them and everything. But I saw some people in this one bookstore down there, and they were gathered around near my books. They weren't looking at my books, so I ran around the other side, and through the books I was going, reflections, reflections, hoping they'd go see them. But they didn't. They wandered away. Anyways, I went over to my books, gave them a hug, and then I picked up a book next to mine, and it was written by this little older woman. She was in her 80s, and it was on her husband's 100th birthday. And there's a picture on the back of the book of them, and they both had this beautiful glow in their eyes. And I thought, wow, they've got something to tell me. So I opened just to any page, and the page I opened to, the paragraph that was written titled Indifference. And what she'd written there was, if the sun only set once every 100 years, or the stars only shone once every 100 years, people would come from all over the world to watch it happen. But when it happens every day and night, we take it for granted. And so that inspired this little thought. The present moment is a gift to me. My gift is to be present every moment. This one is dedicated to Christopher Reeves. All know Christopher Reeves. He was Superman, and his wonderful wife, who was just an incredible person. And Christopher Reeves, as you know, fell off his horse and was quadriplegic, and both have passed away now. But this was dedicated to him, because I think our attitude is our greatest gift, something we have. We can, again, be negative or positive, and they were such an example of being really positive. So I wrote this. Our happiness doesn't depend on the number of challenges we are handed, but on how they are handled. Such an important. I was watching you take a picture of that one. No, that's okay. No, I appreciate it. Everybody. Oh, that's so nice. I just thought it was so cute. I wish I had a picture of your face. No, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Don't be mad at me. I don't like putting people on the spot. It was just nice. Now, I'm not going to show you this one just because of time, but I ran a World Kindness concert in Vancouver for 12 years. All top performers from Vancouver all gave their time, and it was unbelievable. It ended up at the Center for Performing Arts. But the last few years, because I go down to the downtown east side a lot, and I went down there, and I found a couple of singers down there, with their guitar. There was this young woman here. She had her guitar, and she'd just play a few notes and sing a bit. Unbelievable voice. And I'd keep going down, and she'd be spitting and burping and all sorts of stuff while she played, and she'd have a cigarette hanging out of her mouth. And I'd keep going down to visit her and other people. And then I said to her one day, I said, do you want to be in the World Kindness concert that I organize? We'd love you to perform. And she couldn't believe it. I mean, this is at the Center for Performing Arts, where everybody's all dressed up fancy and everything. The backup band that I had every year is led by Bill Sample, who is David Foster's music director. So that's the quality. And all these different singers would do a song or two each, like Valdy, Bill Henderson, all these amazing people, Sherry Ulrich, all gave their time. And but she didn't want to use the band. She sat on the stage cross-legged, and she stole the show. Like, it was unbelievable. If you go to YouTube's World Kindness Concert, Google Sharon Small, just because I won't show her right now, but I will. That would be the video. But this is the next one, and I want to show you somebody else from the downtown east side. So now you had a little glimpse, so you have to go see it. God, oh, now you want to see it. But you guys are trying. No, do you want to see it? Oh my God, what about the other things? Okay. I just wanted to hear you say you wanted to see it. Do you want me to stay too? Okay, thanks. You're about to see a video of a singer living with her addictions on the streets of the Vancouver downtown east side.
Bristol tops of icy mountain, staring down at me, smiling faces.
This is while she's still addicted.
As far as the eye can see, people laughing, dancing, talking. No one makes a sound.
The downtown east side is devastated.
She's an amazing singer too. She was
There's a lot of
addicted
pain
and now
down
helps
there.
people
There's
down
a lot of loss down there.
Amazing
a lot
singer.
of lost lives, you know. But there's still people. We're all still people. We're all the same. You know?
In the city, baby, you know, and I know.
Sharon was invited to perform at the 2011 World Kindness Concert, and as a result, was inspired to get clean and sober for 21 days.
Then he came around and he said, girl, you know it isn't fair.
spending money on nice cars and rings, and you're not no cash because of the blood in your veins. Oh, am I to judge them in their ignorance? It does not all become them. I am nobody. But then who were they to judge me? See, my social situation says not what's all about me. I'm somebody. Who am I to judge them in their ignorance? It does not all become them. I am nobody. But who were they to judge me? You see, my social situation says not what's all about me. I am somebody. I am somebody.
Now watch this standing ovation. It's just unbelievable. That was just part of the thing. See the guy coming out there now? That's Jonas and his wife, Jeanette. We do the Kindness Rock shows in schools, but they do all the abracadabra shows, you know, imitation, and Elton John and Michael Bublé shows all over the world. They're just the neatest couple. Anyways, amazing, eh? And sadly, she's back in the streets again. It's really hard. So, yeah, it's very sad, actually. But she always has a big hug when I go down and see her, and it's really great. Here's another one on her attitude.